Welcome back to another episode of the Messenger Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in with us, my name is Malachi Burden. I have
Marco here.
Yeah, and so this is your first time tuning in. The Messenger Podcast is all about people giving them a space to share the message with the world, things they've gone through, lessons they've learned, trials and tribulations, tests and testimonies. And so I had the opportunity to meet Marco at a men's mental health wellness event, forum, if you will, and the words that he was speaking and his personal story really moved me, and I think it's really powerful for all men to have the space to have a conversation and to even open up and be vulnerable about it, because it is something that's, I believe, is really plaguing our society, our communities, and the world ultimately. And a lot of men fail and lose a lot of what they're building in life due to what he's going to talk about. And so, without further ado, just get right into it. And so, Marco, what is just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, where we're at right now. I know people are going to be shocked at where we're at. So,
We're in my barbershop. I'm the owner and founder of Tricombs Barbershop. I go by Marco, but actually my legal name is Mark.
okay.
When I dedicated my life to Jesus, I changed my name just to kind of like be reborn again.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the Old Testament, they used to change their names.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like part of that. I don't want to go like too far from who I really was.
Yeah.
But definitely like my old self had like a bad taste for in my own mouth. So I just wanted to be born again. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. I now live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Lived in Colorado for 10 years, where I met my wife, and she's originally from here. So when we decided to have a family, we decided to come to a smaller town, and been doing it ever since.
No, that's great, man. So yeah, we are in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now. And yes, there are Black people in South
I
Dakota.
know, right?
And so I was born here. I've said it on a previous episode, and future episodes as
There's
well.
Spanish people here too.
But yeah, I was born here. I was raised in Baltimore, but we are here. And so, Marco, what was life for you growing up? As a kid into like high school, college. Like, what was that like for you?
That's a deep question.
Yeah.
You're about to get some deep answers. Life for me was, pretty good. I grew up very fortunate. Shout out my father for teaching me lots of things, mentorship. But I still deviated from that path, as we all do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I grew up playing sports. I was a very talented artist from a very young age. I knew I had a lot of gifts, both musically, artistically, academically, and yeah, the power of sports was definitely like a big
Yeah.
motivator for me to
Okay.
stay focused on all those things. Because if you didn't have good grades, you weren't allowed to play
Yeah.
any sports. So that helped me along my way. In high school, I went to a tech school,
Mm-hmm.
so I got to study graphic design and commercial art at a higher level than most, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would go back to play sports from my regular high school.
Okay.
But
What sports did you play?
it's easier to tell you what I didn't play.
Okay, you're one of those people. Okay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like a quad athlete, I guess.
Yeah.
I played 4 to 5 sports year round, and
Yeah.
some of them would merge into the other ones. But my
Mm-hmm.
main ones were track and field, cross country, soccer, um, baseball, football.
Yeah.
All of the above. Golf.
Yeah.
Being from Florida, that was big.
Yeah. That was my brother. He was the one that did all the different sports. I primarily was basketball and soccer. And then I got big into wrestling in high school.
Yeah,
And that
I
was
know
a
it doesn't
part of
look
the
like it
story.
now, but I even did weightlifting.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was cut back then.
Yeah.
When
I the same testimony, but the same story with me. I was really jacked, and in high school, my mom had a car accident, and so during her recovery, she had lost a lot of weight, and so long story short, she got into like bodybuilding. And so I got into bodybuilding because of her a little bit. What she asked me to do was show her. So I was like, I was fit from wrestling, and then I got really big from competing in bodybuilding. And so, and then my summer job was out here actually. So I did house painting out here. So just
up and down a ladder.
yeah, I've been a lot in Canada. So I was really fit. I know I lost a lot of weight, muscle mass now, but yeah, I can relate definitely to the sports.
Yeah, I would say lastly, there was just a lot of expectation. I do share this in my testimony, but if you guys ever get a chance to hear the full story, hopefully you will one day. I always talk about how my last name holds weight,
Hmm.
and what that means is like everybody knows my last name.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of expectation growing up. So that's kind of like the beginning of like my struggle with drugs, alcohol, partying. There was things to come up, there was things to come down, there was things to stay awake, there was things to get me through the day,
Yeah.
and a lot of things to recover.
Hmm.
So like it wasn't just enough to be on the track team. I had to be the captain. It wasn't just enough to
Yeah.
win second place. I had to win first. And I do know now, hindsight 2020, that I put a lot of those expectations on myself. It's not like my father was drilling or
Yeah.
trying to fulfill some type of dream in me.
Yeah.
I think there was just like this internal, like, I got to be the best
Yeah.
because I got to live up to this name.
Yeah.
Found out later in life that I was adopted. So
Wow.
that really like shifted everything for me, where I could like start focusing on like, okay, I could just be me.
Yeah.
I can just be Marco. I can just be Mark. Or,
Yeah.
um, you know, focus on like the gifts that I was given.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge left turn. I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I remember for me it was I had the same similar drive, especially with the grades. Like my mom was, A's and B's only, C's, weren't really acceptable in my house. It wasn't just to be a sake of it, just to push us to be better, not settle for average. And so I remember we would get C's, she would take the PlayStation, the Xbox away. And like I was
See,
big on
mine was
sports.
takeaway outside.
Yeah, outside
That
too. Yeah, it
sucked.
was.
Which, for all you kids out there, this thing called outside is
Yeah.
where you go and you play. I know it's
Yep.
crazy because we
Yep.
have technology at our fingertips now. But back in the day, like if I couldn't go play roller hockey outside,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
ding dong ditch, like there were
Yeah.
things that we did. Like we used to jump over cars, with our bikes and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I remember she would let us stay in the sports. I mean, honestly, because she paid for that season. So,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, outside was limited, and we would. I don't know if they're still doing now, like interim reports. So it's like until the next interim report. If I still had a C, I would stay on punishment. If I had a B or A, she would lighten it. But yeah, it was just. But then, not growing up without a father, um, or he was there, but he wasn't really supportive of my sports.
Hmm.
He was a college basketball coach, and so when I kind of gave that up, it was like his dreams of like having an NBA son kind of went out the window. And so I kind of took that. I have to be as best as I could. So maybe one day he'll be okay. My kid really is good in wrestling. Maybe go support him, right? And so that was one of the big motivators for me. I've always hated coming in second place, and I think also maybe it was part of being a coach, like a college coach's son. Just that drive, that competitiveness. But that was a big part of me wanting to like dominate everything
Hmm.
or be team captain. I would be the team captain of like a chess club or like tic tac toe club in schools. Like everything I was a part of, I wanted to bring it to the next level where the whatever achievement was relative to the situation. So
Do you think people are naturally born with that?
I think for me, I early on I was. I think there are some things that can be a catalyst to it. Because even now, I've recognized those bad habits and things I have, but even now, I kind of get pulled into things, even when I'm not even trying to be like a lead guy or a team captain or like a manager. Like I just get so I think it's something that was in me. And I don't know if it's the aura or just the energy or just. I've been told that by multiple people, but I think sometimes those gifts that we have can have a negative motivation behind it
Right.
if we're not aware of it, which a lot of times when we're kids, high school, college, those things can pop up. But I think those internal drives, those drivers are who we are, our mindset, our perspective, our talents, our gifts are always there. But sometimes I think the seasons that we're in can alter the motives.
Yeah. I want to touch back on that, and I want to caveat to what you're saying,
Yeah.
just because something that you said kind of triggered another thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
About the expectations. It's like I had a facade growing up.
Yeah.
I always say I was popular, but for all the wrong reasons. Like a lot of people
Uh,
knew of me, but not a lot of people messed with me.
mm-hmm.
And I remember, and I'm glad I can like reflect on this and be vulnerable enough now at a couple weeks, 33 years old. But when I was like, I would say going into sixth grade is when it started. I had this vision, and if you're fairly my age, you watch a lot of Disney movies, right?
Yeah.
And you always saw like the jock with the cheerleader and
Yeah.
like the limo, and they're homecoming queen, it just that was like a dream of mine. Like I wanted to be that guy
Yeah.
so badly, but I realize now like the harder you try to be something like that, the more people dislike you.
Yeah.
And it's weird now because Sioux Falls, uh, God has brought me more friendships and more family and more unity than I've ever had in my entire life.
Hmm.
Mostly because I just started being very authentic.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest thing that I wish everybody could take from this: stop lying.
Yeah.
Like, stop pretending to be something you are. Don't like don't feel like even the need to chime in on every conversation, just
Hmm.
like you maybe. I'm a natural born leader, so I want to
Yeah.
like
Yep.
put my 2 cents on everything, and I have to
I can
like hold back
relate.
and be like, man, so how about you? And I
Yeah.
think barbering has like given me a great platform to take it away from me and make it more about the service and the person that's in my chair.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to like kind of touch on that quickly because it's been a good reflection of the last 3 years of like it's not about me. It's I don't. It's,
Yeah.
the whole world does not revolve around Marco. It's about the community. It's about the person in my chair. It's about how many seeds I can plant. It's about how many like people I can water and pour into, and like it's God's glory. It's not mine.
Yeah. No, I can relate completely. Especially like in college, you start to develop that reputation, the facade. I was in a fraternity, so there's that whole increase of popularity and things like that, and it just you kind of keep it up, and especially like for me, um, I do remember when I moved from being born in South Dakota, then moving to upstate New York, and then moving to Baltimore was a huge culture shock, right? And so like when I was growing up, South Dakota is very still rural on the very beginning of becoming really suburban, and then upstate New York is upstate New York. It's nothing like New York City. Very suburban, and then when you go to a really urban city like Baltimore, usually in the top 10 most dangerous cities every year in the country.
People are just walking around just
Um,
clapping hands, huh?
yeah,
No,
it's
I'm just kidding.
just,
I'm just kidding.
and
Hey, it's you.
so I gotta, and I'm black, so when you kind of get bullied, in school, like, oh, you're from South Dakota, like you're weird, or you're like a nerd, or you're, so it's like you try to like fit in, you try to be cool, you trying to find the cool kids and things like that, and so that got me into some trouble in elementary school, just hanging out with the wrong people, trying to be the tough guy instead of just like I said, like being yourself. Um, and I started to kind of find myself in high school. I think wrestling really helped me understand that. Even when I went to, you said tech school, kind of went to a tech school too. So my concentration was art. And so, like, learning how to really be yourself, be expressive, and not be ashamed of it, right? Because at that time, I'm inner city, black people didn't do art, right? That wasn't popular at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I'm the black dude from South Dakota and I'm an artist. Like, you're okay, now you're super weird, or you get bullied for that. And so that really helped me mold into my show a lot more. But it was like that competitive nature, like, I'm gonna be the best. So, like, even though you may think I'm a nerd or I'm weird, I'm gonna be the best weirdo you've ever met, right? And so
Right.
even with wrestling too, at that time, a lot of black people didn't wrestle. If you're tall and lengthy, you played basketball or football. And so, especially in the county where I'm in, is really white dominated in terms of wrestling. And I went to an art school. Our wrestling team was very small. I think we had some people that weren't good. So I would say only the people that were good, it was like four of us. And wrestling is big in Maryland. So some matches, it's just me, my three friends, and maybe my mom or another family in the stands. And then the other side of the gym, it's mom, aunt, uncle, the whole team.
Cousins.
Yeah, and so it's um, and then you go to high school. Even though, like, when I would come back the next day to school, people would just look at us like we're kind of weird. Like, why y'all wrestling? Y'all are not really cool, things like that. And so, growing up with that, um, you look back, the wrong motives, the mindset wasn't there. What maybe not the healthiest.
Right.
Um, and so I definitely, I'm there with you in terms of relating the what's driving you to fit in, or that, or not even fit in, but just the performance aspect
Yeah.
of it.
I know you got more questions, but man, this is already
No,
so.
this is good.
This
No, this is
is
really
so
good. This
great.
is
This
question
is
one.
this feels so organic to me. Like it. It's weird to meet like another extro introvert.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah,
we're super extroverted when we're around people, but like I'm really a homebody. I
I
really
am too.
don't. I
Yep.
really don't like to leave the house. But when I get around someone that's like pulling me out of my shell, like you, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm gonna unload, and it's like emotionally vomiting right now.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned something that like we're trying to fit in, and you're, we're talking about sports, we're talking about college, we're talking about our careers, or maybe even our hobbies like art, even video production, like all that stuff I did.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking now, I'm a Christian now, and I live my life 110% for Jesus.
Yep.
But I always do reflect on the fact that like when I was younger, I was 110% a sinner.
Yeah.
Everything I did
Yep.
was to please myself,
Yeah.
was to get a girl, was to get more friends, was to get more money, was to, pour into myself. It was a very selfish way of living.
Mm.
So as much as like I'm 110% a Christian now, it's as you're talking, like, man, everything I did, like music, it was about playing the guitar, but it was really, like I even played in, the youth band. And I think at the time it was just like the
Hmm.
limelight got to my head. And that was like on
Yeah.
a very low stage. Like it
Bruh.
wasn't a big platform, but it was like for me, I wish I had Jesus back then in me. Like I wish I had taken it as seriously because and you're old enough to know this concept, and I wish some of you would go back and like look at the earlier days of like Christians, because like Jesus freak was a big
Yeah.
like word that we all used.
Hmm.
Like that kid's a Jesus freak, and I
Hmm.
was the same way. I'm like, what, Bible studies,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's actually praying, when maybe the pastor was like, everybody raise your hand if you want to dedicate your life to Jesus. I'm like, do people really
Yeah.
raise their hand, or is that just the pastor
Yeah.
like, oh, I see your hand, I see your hand.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I think everything was. I just wish I had taken it more seriously, man. Like, and that goes with like sports. That goes with like art. I mean, I was good, but I could have been great had I
Yeah.
been glorifying him the entire way.
Hmm.
Um, and instead of living up to some honestly mirage expectation, it was just like, yeah, I don't know. It's good to reflect on that. I can't
Yeah.
believe
So
that
you
was
touched on that. So was faith something that you kind of grew up in? Was it like a family and that they bring you to church? Did you grow up in the church? And
fifth going into sixth grade.
yeah.
It got really serious.
Hmm.
That's when my dad started going, like taking us to church. I vividly remember like going to, at the time, this church was called Cypress Point Community Church. It's in Tampa, Florida. And I remember we started off like in a movie theater, like we rented out movie theater rooms,
Yeah.
and then we transitioned into a nice, big commercial building. Um, so I saw the church grow up, and I got really involved into youth groups. But I think like at that time, like playing guitar, like I said, it was really about getting the girls.
Yeah.
It was really about making friends. It wasn't to shine on his glory.
Yeah.
Like he gave me all these talents, and here I was just like, well, okay, cool. I learned a couple chords. Like let me write an Ed Sheeran song so I
Yeah.
could go to the parties on the weekends before church and go serenade some girl or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up in the church.
Yeah. I can relate to that because I grew up in the church as well. Um, I mean, my uncle, but my grandmother is really big and instrumental in terms of our family going to church. So, and then when I was born, obviously I had to go by default. And then my mom raised me in the church as well when we moved. Um, but I will say, I like going to church a lot. I think if your church has a really good like youth department, kids ministry, youth ministry, it makes church a lot of fun. And I think I was spoiled. The church here that me and my grandma used to go to, children's ministry, youth was like top notch. They renovated the gymnasium, so the entire stage was like there, or I guess they put a stage in the gymnasium. I don't know what it was, but the entire service was like a puppet show. So every week was a different theme of puppets, and sometimes they do like VeggieTales was a big thing when we were
Oh
kids.
yeah,
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 so like they would
yeah.
redo all that, and so like
VeggieTales was clutch, man.
yeah, but it was like when I say like the whole stage was like a puppet like stand, like it was a grand, so
Yeah,
it made it fun, right? And then they did basketball tournaments, youth camps, all that fun
I grew up
stuff,
doing
and
all that.
yeah, and then when I moved to Baltimore, same thing, and so I had a lot of fun. But I think for you, same thing you said. Like I didn't take it that serious until usually life happens
Well, like
when you start
life
taking
really
things.
happened, and it hit me hard, and I totally deviated from everything that I feel like my father
Mm-hmm.
and stepmom were trying to get me away from.
Yeah.
I just want to go on the record that say, like, I didn't find out I was adopted until 21.
That's crazy.
So I realize now, like, before I found out,
Mm-hmm.
everything that my dad was trying to keep me away from, I thought my
Mm-hmm.
dad was being,
Yeah.
excuse my language, but like a hard ass on me,
Yeah.
or very strict. I realize now he was just trying to keep me away from the things that he already knew, like, was in my DNA,
Yeah.
like, that I was going to be bred to just do.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I think he realized, like, this could save him if we just tell him the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm happy he told me when he did, because part of that testimony was, like, I was going through withdrawal. I was, like, sleeping on my dad's couch. I was sweating out toxins. I was detoxing from all these pills that I was on. And I remember, like, we got into it, and then I went down to this Christian coffee shop down the road from me, and I had been in that coffee shop, bro, 1,000 times. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is, like, when you're messed up and living a sinful way, like, you don't notice the Holy Spirit at all. Like, it's
Yeah.
there. It's trying to give you, it's trying to pour out into you. It's trying to give you glimpses and
Mm-hmm.
pull you in. But you're so blinded by these horse blinders that you wear that you don't realize it. But there was a scripture on the wall that had said, "The truth will set you free."
Yeah.
And I remember it was like that moment, like,
Yeah.
was brought down to my knees, and all these people start praying over me, and it was just like God finally touched my heart. Like, it was the very beginning of that planting of a seed for
Yeah.
me. And I've been to church my whole life,
Yeah.
but that was the real moment that, like, I feel like I sprouted, like, where I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, I don't have to be anything else but yours. I can
Mm-hmm.
start focusing on who I am, not what I want to be.
Yeah.
Um, Essentially, I don't have to be a Romero. Like,
Yeah.
that was my last name. Like,
Yeah.
I can just focus on being Mark, like, who I was called to be, and I was made in His image. So from that point on, not that there weren't more tests, trials, and
Yeah.
tribulations, but my life really started to
That was
shift.
the yeah.
That was the 180, or as Steve Harvey would even say, shout out Steve Harvey, the turn back moment.
Yeah.
That was that moment.
That's crazy, bro. We have so many similarities. Before I talk, was there a plan for your dad and your stepmom to tell you? Did they want to tell you earlier, or was that or no plan at
I
all?
don't know.
Yeah.
To be uh, very blunt, my real mother is my mother.
Okay.
My biological mother was married to my father,
Yep.
and they got divorced. And in the midst of maybe separation or whatever, my mom got pregnant by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But my father saw my mom and a little boy that was, like, going to be raised by nobody. So when he saw me, he says this, but he said when he was there for the birth of me, he said that that's all it took, was that he was just like, nope,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna raise this kid,
Yeah.
because it was that or fatherless or
Yeah.
growing up in the ghetto or less fortunate or whatever. So my dad took me on,
Okay.
and I was actually more raised by my father than my mother.
Yeah.
And I look at it now, and it's I love my mother, but, like, my father was that rock.
Yeah.
That he was like the strict parent of the two that
Mm-hmm.
was trying to keep me away from
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And so the reason I asked is so I found out that my dad growing up wasn't my biological dad in high school.
It's
But
a huge shift.
yeah, but they wanted to tell me earlier, but life was happening. Like
So my sister knew,
yeah.
everyone else in my
Yeah,
family
everyone else
knew,
knew except for me.
everyone else knew but me.
Yeah.
So I mean, even the way I found out, I was like telling my dad, I'm like, he was like telling me to leave, like, he's like, get out of my house, like, I can't deal with this sweaty pig anymore, like,
Yeah.
go get a job. Basically, it's like,
Yeah.
well, what if I get behind the wheel and I have a seizure? Because if you're going through withdrawals, like,
Yeah.
especially from benzodiazepines or alcohol withdrawal, like, it's the two things that you can die from,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't realize that. So, like, getting off pills was the hardest thing ever. I tell people, it's like, it's flu, like, you are dying.
Yeah.
You're just quivering for no reason. So, like, getting behind the wheel is not safe.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at my dad, and I was like, what if I get behind the wheel and I have a seizure or whatever? Like, I'm your blood, like, I'm your only son. And I remember he said, like, actually, you're not.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a day, like, he lifted up his shirt and he showed me scars on his stomach, and he had said, like, I couldn't have kids, but I took you on anyways. And I know now that what he really meant was, like, tough love.
Yeah.
Like he was really saying it out of love, like I'm trying to save you, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
And for someone that did not do drugs, did not do alcohol, didn't have the same walk or upbringing in life, I I don't blame him for giving it to me now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. For me, it was, and that's powerful. Like that whole, it's crazy how we have so much in common. You
we
know,
didn't know anything yet.
yeah, we did. Yeah, this is all,
I
this is all off the dome here. This is, you know, for me, my mom had me in college, and you know, my biological dad was in and out of prison, just wasn't a good influence. And so, but the plan was when my mom was dating another dude, which my stepdad, they got married. And I don't have much memories from that time. I remember the wedding, but I don't remember before the wedding. So that's probably why I never really thought when they told me why it didn't click. And then they had my brother, and then that's when we moved to Maryland or to New York. And so, but after the divorce was really nasty. It was a very, very toxic divorce. Um, and still, that season still lingers with me. Still lingers with my brother. Still lingers with my mom a little bit. Just like a lot of men, like not having that dad around, it can affect you for a very, very long time. And
forever.
yeah, really
Let me
forever.
just go on
Yeah,
record. It
even
it really does affect you
yeah,
forever.
there is still some, there's still. I told this to a lot of people, like I'm free from that anger and all that stuff, but there's I still get emotional, right? Like especially when I'm watching like a movie or a TV show and there's like a father son scene. And remember like that. I don't know if you watch Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Yeah, and then
Yes, bro.
when he's like Uncle Phil and he's like
Yeah,
hugging it, and then his dad leaves and he's like, why does he want like that?
you're
Always
gonna make
gets
me
me.
emotional
Yeah,
because I cry every time during that.
yeah, like that's the always so stuff like that. I definitely get emotional, but they were gonna tell me then, but the divorce was really, really nasty. So my mom's therapist was like, just wait, like wait a couple years, and then they were gonna tell me in middle school, but then my mom had that really dire car accident that I was telling you about, and so they're like, well, let's wait again, and then they wanted to tell me before I graduated high school, and but like I said, everyone knew, and but my dad, I'll just call him dad, he thought I never knew, and I remember it was one time where. Kind of like that you said, you know, coffee shop that set you free. My dad, stepdad, is about 6'7", 6'8", really big dude. And I remember he was bullying my brother. I already was kind of done with him.
Checked out.
Yeah, and so he knew, but I think because he knew I'm not his biological son, he knew like I really had no ties. But I think he was more emotionally tied to my brother because that's his blood. And so he just wasn't really a good dad to us. So I was already checked out. My brother was starting to come of age and realize like my dad is not the superhero that I thought he was. And so my brother started to check out too. There was one time we were at my grandmother's house for some, I don't know, it was like a cookout, a reunion party, whatever. And he was trying to bully my brother. But at that time, we were like, my uncles and the older cousins didn't get to the house yet. So it's only me, my brother, we're the only guys in the house. And so I was like, okay, and he started like pushing my brother, bullying him. I'm like, okay, I have to stand up to him because no one else is, you know, it's my aunts and my grandmother, you know. And I was still pretty strong from wrestling, and so I wasn't afraid. I was afraid at first because of how big he was, but I'm like, no, I wrestled dudes bigger than you. This is I'm fine. And so, long story short, we got into the scuffle, and that's when he tried to embarrass me. He yelled out, it was like the top of his lungs. The whole neighborhood could hear that I wasn't his son, but I already knew, and he thought I didn't know, so it kind of backfired on him. And I remember like that was like the first time I like seen him like cry, but it was like so all that. I wasn't sad. I was like it was like I was free from this. I'm not afraid of him anymore. I have nothing to fear. That
Mm-hmm.
power, that struggle, that power dynamic, it's shifted in my favor now. But I do remember, like I said, it lingers, and I do remember. He apologized later after that, but I remember. But we were this I was checked out. We didn't talk really much after that. But I do remember in senior year of high school, he wanted to see me wrestle. He's never seen me wrestle before, so I was like, okay. And that season, I was 28-1, and that one loss was when he said he wanted to come see me wrestle. And he never showed, and that's when I
Wow.
realized like there's still some work I need to do, right, in terms of like healing and growth. Because I'm
Right.
like he's still controlling me subconsciously, and I realized there's some more work I need to do, even though like you said, there's that catalyst movement is there, but there's still work that needs to be done. Like it's a process.
I know
Um,
there's not a word for it, man, other than just maybe faith.
yeah,
But you know, like you're my age, so you look, you know, all the therapy we've been through. We, I heard a little bit of your story the
Yeah.
other day, but you go through all this like childhood trauma and like,
Hmm.
okay, I don't want to like create generational trauma. So like I
Yeah.
have kids now, so I don't want to create some of these other,
Yeah.
attributes that maybe I was passed on or passed on to me. And I wish like when you're a child, like you could have like future uh insight, like
Yeah.
other than the fact that everybody's trying to tell you how to live and how to do it.
Yeah.
They're also not allowing you to live anything, or maybe there's just not enough grace for the fact that dude, like he's going through something, or even your own friends, right? Like they don't you don't know what growing up, like you're getting all these diagnoses and like
Hmm.
ADHD and ADD and like uh like narcissism, or
Yeah.
like ego was not like a word or a phrase that was used back then. So you don't even know, other than just being told you're selfish, or that I don't know if I don't know
No.
if I'm making any
Yeah. No.
sense.
It
Like
makes
I wish I could
sense.
go back and be like, man, I wish someone would have like grabbed me like Homer Simpson grabs Bart Simpson and be like,
Yeah.
wake up, like
Yeah.
you
And
need to
I
deviate.
had those people. I was super smart. My One of the biggest catalyst moments for me was, I was super smart, basically straight A student, but I had my anger management was through the roof, and that's usually because, well, it was because my household before the divorce was very violent, so I picked up a lot of just anger, unhealthy traits from watching my parents battle all the time, and so. And then not having a dad also added fuel to the fire because you're in sports, you want your dad there. So I became very jealous of all my teammates, and so much so I had to get taken out of team sports because what happened was my dad ended up stopped paying child support out of spite, and so which was a whole another legal battle. But so I knew my mom had to work overtime, and there was times where she couldn't go to my brother's sports. So I would always sometimes I would tell her just go to my brother. He's younger. He wants. I'm fine because my mom didn't tell me a lot of stuff, but she would tell me some stuff. I guess I'm not to brag on myself. I was very mature or mentally aware as a kid of what was going on, and so I knew.
You didn't have any other choice.
Yeah, so my mom kind of shed
There's
some.
nothing to really be prideful about. It
Yeah,
was that, or
yeah, and so I knew when she would work overtime, I knew what it was. Why I knew my dad had stopped
sorry,
paying child support and things like that. I remember we were really big into movies. My family's really big into movies. So when my mom,
Blockbuster.
yeah,
That was the
so
thing.
um, when we got our own apartment, my mom always took it to the movies all the time. I remember the day when she was like, "We can't go to the movies as much anymore." Right? That really irritated me. Not at her, at my dad, because I knew what was going on. But I remember when my mom would come to my games, I knew what she's sacrificing to come here. So we're going to win the game. If you don't win the game, I'm gonna just lose my temper to everybody because y'all aren't performing at the level that I need y'all to perform
Right,
because I don't like losing in front of my mom because I know what she's sacrificing. And
right.
so it was like that. All that anger was just, but my mom had put me in therapy as a really early age. His name is JC. He's no longer with us, and I'll get to that in a moment. But he was that dude that would tell you to wake up, but in a gentle way. And every therapist, and that's why if you're looking for a therapist, you have to find the one that fits you. It's like dating. It's like trying to find your best friend. Don't just stick with one just for the sake of sticking with one. You have to find the one that gets you to be vulnerable because everyone has different personality types, different teaching
Can you be
styles.
vulnerable with me for a second?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself being more prone to liking female or male therapists?
I say this. I've had both. I have a male therapist. But I will say, if you don't have, but at least get woman mentors because you need to have perspectives from both sides. Especially when you get older in terms of dating and marriage, you need to know how the other side thinks,
Mm-hmm.
perspective. But for me, his style was he was like kind of an introvert like me. So we are just gonna sit in there until one of us says something. And for me, you're a kid, so you don't want to be awkward, so you usually speak first. But we also, we did a lot of activities like we did model cars together. So that will kind of help me open up and
Mm.
things like that. And so he had a way of getting me to open up, but there was no judgment. Even though all times I'll get detention or suspension or I lose my temper at a sporting event, curse at the ref, curse at parents, curse at kids, or curse at my teacher, he would know about it because my mom would tell him, and he would be like, "So what? It's another day." You know what I'm saying? Like he always had that way. He was, he's introvert, very monotone, very calm, collected. Like,
Can I tell you what word hurts me the most?
yeah,
It's not I'm mad at you or I'm sad at you. It's always the like I'm disappointed.
yeah,
Like I really don't like letting people down.
yeah,
So I think that's like the people pleasing in me, like the little things like as
yeah.
a child, like fear of abandonment issues like have
Mm-hmm.
come up, in recent years, or the fact that I've had like so many woman issues was because of like the lack of relationship with my mother versus my father.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like fear of expressing
Bro.
myself
Mm.
because my father was like, you got to be tough, whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't very tenderhearted like a mom should be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a stepmom that I didn't have any respect for,
Yeah.
and a sister who I didn't care for. I quite frankly, due to just like would beat on my sister just because
Yeah.
I was like frustrated because she had the mom and the dad. And
Yeah.
I know that you know where I'm going with this, but
Yeah.
then my mom was like the cool mom, so she was trying to be more of my friend than like a mom. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever remember hugging or kissing my mother
Yeah.
ever. So like I realize now like that I have kids. The one thing that I want to do differently that my father I felt like lacked was like really holding me.
Yeah.
Like that was what I was desiring, and it sounds like a big teddy bear, like, oh, I just want to be held and told I'm all right, but
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I did need.
Nah, man. I remember
Because
when,
I mean, what you lack too was like the
yeah.
fathership,
No,
right?
yeah. It's
Was
not,
like the
it's
discipline.
huge. It's huge, man.
That's why like the discipline also goes hand in hand with like I'm disappointed because like
Mm-hmm.
your dad telling you like I'm disappointed in you, or like why didn't you win first place, what could you have done better, like that challenged me to be better, right?
Yeah.
Like the very like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady mindset of like I'm on the field to win. If you don't want to win, get off the field, like
Yeah.
because I'm here to win.
That was me.
And that was like the ego and pride, but I really did need that female perspective, and that's why I deviate towards a woman
Mm-hmm.
therapist, because
Yeah.
like I want the validation that I care, that I'm never going to leave you, like
Yeah.
like the fear of abandonment has kind of been left from me.
Yeah. No, that's so true, man. I remember when I met my biological dad. Well, before that, he was in jail at the time when I first got in contact with him. But I remember just hearing the words like "I love you." It was like, wow, like this is new, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I've known him for what, 4 years now, 3, 4 years now, and I mean, I'd bet money. He said I've loved you more time in these 3, 4 years from instead of my dad from the 30 years I've known him, right?
Yeah.
And just it feels good, and because you hear about when you read books, and therapy, and stats and science that a son needs a father and things like that, But when you really experience like just genuine love, or same thing with the mother, like you feel that experience, it's like this is really is true. Like you
Yeah.
definitely need both sides, and and it feels good,
Have
right?
we even got on a question too?
We really, I'm really technically no, but it's like the conversation's so great, bro. Um, we have so much in common. It's kind of, it's just
We're
crazy.
brothers in Christ.
Really, not for real. Um,
I just don't want to deviate too much because dude, we'll be here all night.
I know. Let's go on. You talked about, let's go into, um, when you started venturing off, the drug addiction, things
Yeah.
like that. What was the reason for it? How did that turn out? Like, can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah. Um, I would say, it started with like lust,
Yeah.
like lustfully looking at other girls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Popularity turned into like one upping.
Yep.
So you're gonna smoke weed. Well, how much more weed can I smoke than you? And
Yeah.
I had money, so I was always the one that had it. And I found very quickly, like when you have something, people want to be more
Oh
around you.
yeah.
So very quickly, it was that alpha mentality started to come out, but also the Napoleon syndrome started to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a short guy. I'm charming, but I wanted to be very well liked. So
Yeah.
I also went to a brand new high school, and there was no seniors. So I was like set on like, all right,
Hmm.
dude, like now's my time to shine, you know. And I
Yeah.
could go into like how I got into drugs, but like this is important to note that like I wanted to be the first person to throw the very first party, and like everyone showed up from my whole school.
Yeah.
And I as soon as I got a taste, a glimpse of popularity, it was like over.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, weed smoking turned into I'm okay. Like you go to the nowadays you got dispensaries, but back then you had a drug dealer
Yeah.
that you'd go to, and I remember like my drug dealer was like hole in the wall, trailer, and we would smoke, but then it would turn into like maybe I saw him do pills,
Yep.
and I struggle with anxiety. So I remember the first time like I ever like tried. He's like, "Oh, dude, if you're struggling with anxiety, take this.
Yep.
The first one's always free. That's how they
Yep.
get you." And very quickly was like, "Oh wow, these benzos, Xanax,
Hmm.
Valium, Klonopin, like make me feel like super focused." Horse blinders were on,
Yep.
but then I realized like, well, when you were coming down off of them, you're tired, so the the nod feeling would hit me in school, and
Hmm.
then I would like, well, I need something to stay focused. So then I
Yeah.
started to get into like Adderall, Vyvanse, things to make me stay focused. But then you add sports on top of that, and you had sports related injuries. So then I very quickly found out that like, well, I could go get prescriptions.
Yeah.
So then it was like, well, muscle relaxers became a thing. So
Hmm.
I was taking like a concoction cocktail of like,
Oh, wow.
downers in the morning, then uppers during lunch to stay focused for the rest of my day. Because like I used to love drawing stoned,
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
got more creative freedom.
Hmm.
And but then I would need something to do like my reading, my writing, my math, my science, my history, and then I would be very focused throughout sports. But then I would need something to come down. So the muscle relaxers would be like my recovery.
Yeah.
um, but then, what made it really, really bad was the peak of my high school is when you start figuring out that, like, okay, now you have a license and now you can go drive to these parties, and
Yeah.
maybe parents are out of town. So, like, now you're doing all those pills, but then you're adding alcohol consumption on top of it,
Yeah.
street drugs on top of it. Now, I thank the Lord I never touched heroin, because I know myself enough to know if I had touched one of those downers, it would have been over.
Yeah.
Especially with nowadays, you have fentanyl crisis
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I had done that, it'd been even worse. But I got into like psychedelics, and that really like shifted my mind away from God and was like, wow, there's a whole universe out
Yeah.
there. And I don't want to like touch too much on that, because I think that like even speaking these things out into the world
Yeah.
makes another person think
Yep.
like, well, what else is out there?
Yeah.
It's not how it used to be at all.
Hmm.
Like nowadays, things are so stepped on. They're, putting fentanyl into all these other
Yeah.
drugs that like you can't even do some of the things that we used to do. And by no means am I glorifying it, but I mean, I got lost in the sauce
Yeah.
so bad that I like my serotonin levels were so low; they were depleted because I was doing so many drugs.
Yeah.
And for you guys don't know what serotonin is, it's the part in your spinal cord that determines if you're happy or sad. So I was just monotone all the
Yeah.
time. I was so drugged up all the time that like people couldn't even understand when I wasn't running track that I ran track, because I was just like a
Yeah.
slow moving turtle walking through the halls.
Yeah.
um, just had no drive, no ambition, no determination to really do much. For being this popular guy, I mean, like, no one saw internally how much I was struggling.
Man, I'm glad you made that last comment, bro. That was with me with my alcoholism. I went to Penn State, usually top ranked party school every year in the country. Same thing. Like, oh, he's drinking. Oh, he's a cool dude, right? And that's kind of how I wanted it. I didn't want people to know what I was going through, and people didn't ask. They're like, oh, he's just drinking. Like, he's fine.
I don't know
And
about you. I want to before you
yeah,
continue. Were you a happy drunk, or like a?
I was a
Because like
little.
I was a happy
Yeah,
drunk.
I
Like
was a
people
happy
always
drunk. Yeah,
loved me around because like I was funnier
yeah.
when
That
I
was
was.
with me. I was introverted, so the being drunk would bring out more emotion, more happiness. Life of the party type vibe. I was still kind of to myself, but I was like a little bit more happy, more smile a little bit more, things like that. I was never like depressed or like crying or angry. I was never one of those type of drunks. But yeah, I was definitely just a cool dude. And the thing, and sometimes I would hide it. Like instead of me like just buying drinks for myself, I would be like, "Hey, you want to try? You want to try? You want to shot? Actually, just get a bottle." And I was just like, instead just to help mask it. And so I appreciate you saying that. I know at the event you talked about it at the mental health at the mental health forum. Did you want to talk a little bit about the adult content?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's super important. Um, so like this, during my middle school years, like we didn't have cell phones like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else does nowadays. So pornography was not what it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, but that was the beginning of like honestly like the drug addiction. My anger got through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't realize until you do the scientific research behind pornography or
Yeah.
adult content, how much it affects your mental, but you'll be like very quick, very explosive. Your dopamine levels are all through the roof. You're constantly trying to get a fix, but you don't know where to get it. And I touched on this, but like I'm glad that you're deviating to this or pivoting to this conversation because like um, you never do pornography, you never watch it when you're with people.
Mm.
You always watch it when you're by yourself. So I never thought I was hurting anybody when I was doing that. But with the alcohol, right? Like you want to do it with people. Like you're deemed a drug addict or an alcoholic if you sit at home and drink by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why we very quickly would be like, "Oh dude, I got pills. Everyone have pills. I got weed. Let's all smoke." Because like it was about the popularity. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be known for doing it by yourself. But with pornography, you keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
That's not something that you would like explicitly post online or talk about, and it's not shared. But I was really really young. I was definitely eighth or ninth grade the first time I like got a glimpse of it,
Yeah.
and I mean it was like it just got progressively worse um, until I don't know like 28 or 29 years old,
Yeah.
and then I just completely like was like I got nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the drug addiction, you talked about it at the coffee shop. Was that the catalyst that like kind of, or was there another thing that when you was there another rock bottom where you're like, okay, if I don't do something, I'm gonna like die, or
Um, I think that for different addictions, it was different things. If I'm being very vulnerable and transparent,
okay,
for me, the pill thing was like friends like overdosing,
yeah,
and one of them being like one of my best friends who was like college bound, um, Alex Rodriguez, and like, dude, I couldn't even step on the track field anymore.
yeah,
Like, I would see him, I would like immediately start bawling.
yeah,
Like I was so and the important part is like it didn't even stop me
yeah,
like from doing it. It really took a lot more deaths,
yeah,
sadly. Um, but you do one of two things if you see someone die from drug addiction or alcoholism or any addiction for that matter. You either do it worse or you completely rebel. And
yeah.
I did it worse. Like that's when I
Wow.
got into psychedelics. That's when I started like mixing alcohol with pills.
Yeah,
That's when like school became not a priority anymore. Like I just started not showing up.
yeah,
Just started to like really fall away from everybody. I didn't want to be bothered. I wanted to mask it and cope with this pain. Um, because I think for a long time I felt guilty because like I was the first person to ever kind of get him into those things.
yeah,
And the night that he had passed, like the day before, like we were in exchange.
yeah,
Like and it just like I was doing the same things he was doing, so why did he die and I didn't?
yeah,
Type feeling. So many of those moments of like, why did he die but I didn't, kept hitting me, and that was the pill thing. For the psychedelics, I started to like really get a bad, uh, what's it like? What's the word I'm looking for? I started to have like effects for like long term effects, like anxiety issues, horrible paranoia.
mm-hmm,
Not like looking through the windows, but like I couldn't go into big crowds anymore. Like I always thought something was gonna like happen to me
yeah,
because in some of these moments when I was using them or abusing it, I started to have like seizures and things like that. So like I always thought I was gonna like overdose.
Yeah.
So that really like that was the catalyst for that. Um, the pornography thing was more recent
Mm-hmm.
as far as why I decided to stop, but it was the divorce of my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I touched on it when I first met you and when we were at this mental health forum, but it's very, very still new and fresh to me. But I put myself through anger management, and that's when I realized I'm like, oh, this is this is why.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say like I don't have an explosive problem, I have a reactionary problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know where 0 to 20 is. I only know 0 to 100.
I'm glad you're saying that, man. Because keep going.
Um, but that's because that dopamine shot like was like a boost immediately. But watching my kids be torn from my hands, missing the second birth of my second child,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, she was so angry and I was so angry. So we just like a lot of spite, nasty divorce,
Yeah.
thousands of dollars wasted, not even long enough to be married to be divorced.
Yeah.
So it was just like I was just angry at God, and I'm like, but then it became like a transaction. I'm like, God, I'm going to anger management. God, I'm going to divorce care. God, I'm going to celebrate recovery. God, I'm doing the youth group. God, I'm doing the Bible studies.
Mm.
Like, don't you see what I'm doing? Like, and you're still going to take away my life. And it became a very Job story of like,
Yeah.
but do you still trust me? And I was like holding
Mm.
on to that divorce with everything I had. But it was the moment that I really surrendered and sacrificed myself to him that I was like, okay, God, I got nothing else in the tank.
Yeah.
And I really had to expose a lot of like the reasons why I was still angry inside, which was the addiction to pornography. And I didn't see it as an addiction until I went to Celebrate Recovery and I realized like codependency was a big thing, anger issues was a big thing, suicidal tendencies was a big thing, and I'm like, wow, these people are not here because of methamphetamine or
Yeah.
alcoholism or like they're here for another reason. And I started hearing these testimonies that brought up, wow, I do have that issue, I do have issues with women. So
Man,
I,
you.
I like to say hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
I gave it all to him, and 3 years later, I'm reconciling with my wife, and we're living
Yeah.
together, and I got my kids back. But it was not
Yeah.
without pain.
Yeah, man. So you said said so much there.
Sorry,
No,
it's not
you're
funny.
fine.
It's not funny.
You
You're laughing
said
at my pain, dude. You're laughing at my pain.
the oh man, oh you said something that was so good. I can't remember what you said. Um, about the oh about being angry at God. No, not even that. About you can't gauge 0 to 20. I think that's and I talk about it too. Especially I was made aware of it as well. You know, sometimes I think I talked about it at the forum too. Sometimes as men, we just shoot from 0 to 100. Like there is that no middle ground, right? And sometimes we don't even know why we're angry. It's they could say it could be reactionary. It could be another emotion or thought or feeling that
We
you
don't know how to
have.
respond.
And yeah, our automatic default setting is anger or rage or whatever it is. So I'm glad you talked about that. But talk about being angry at God, because sometimes I think a lot of people struggle with that or don't feel like they can't have that emotion.
I want to respond,
Okay.
and the the closer you get to him, the more you realize how it's okay not to be okay as long as you don't stay there. Let's go
Mm-hmm.
back to the form on that.
Yeah.
And I'm so gonna get biblical because like I am such a Jesus freak now, and I love what God's doing through His Word, and like it's been there the whole time, sitting next to my nightstand since I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
But when you start to read it, you realize His power in that. It's like the book for dummies. Everything is right there. We just don't realize it. But God does not say don't be angry. He
Yeah.
says don't sin in your anger
Yeah.
and be slow to it.
Yeah.
So like I love that because it's like God got angry. He wiped out the whole world, you know. He also said he would never do
Yeah.
that again, but like he learned from his mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
just like we all do. And it's funny because if you look through the Bible, there's a obviously I feel like I relate most to Job, but there are other stories throughout the Bible that really are relative to all of us, where it's always the men or women that did not want to be called upon, or that shouldn't have had the opportunity, that got called upon.
Yeah.
So I feel like my testimony is just of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm everything I should have not been.
Yeah.
I'm alive and I shouldn't have been, but somehow I made it out.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I just want to answer with, and this is where I'm going to end, is I learned this recently through a podcast, and it was George Flanko or something like
George Janko, I think.
George
Yeah.
Janko was interviewing. I don't know if it was Brandon Lake. I think it was Brandon Lake, but he said something so wise that I have not let it go. He said, "Isn't it funny that in school we're taught learn a lesson, learn a lesson, learn a lesson, take a quiz, take an exam, be tested.
Yeah.
But in the Bible, it's the opposite. It's you're
Mm.
tested, learn a lesson." And I was like, everything that I went through in life was a lesson, but I had to be tested in order to learn it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I want to answer that question. It's,
Man.
yeah, it's that one right there. Thank you,
Ooh.
George, because like he's just on a simple platform like YouTube, and he took a chance at doing his own thing. But that message right there hit me so hard. Here's the other thing he said that I will not let go of now. It's instilled in me. He said, take a dog and chain it to the floor in the basement and leave it in the dark.
Yeah.
Now take another dog, put it in the sunlight, and chain it to the fence outside.
Mm-hmm.
Which dog lives longer?
I feel like it's a trick question, but I mean, I would say
What do you think
outside.
most people would say?
Outside.
Most
Outside.
people would say the dog outside.
Yeah.
The Bible says the one that you feed.
Oh yeah.
So even in your darkest moments, even when you're angry, even when you're in
Mm-hmm.
those slumps, even when God's testing you, you're going through tribulations, and your
Yeah.
mom has cancer, or maybe you're going through a sickness, or maybe God's taken things away from you, like your marriage or your kids. Like, what you're feeding yourself with,
Yeah.
which is this book that He gave us, is the most important thing that we have.
Yeah,
So
man.
even in the darkness, there is light. And I don't know if you look back at the very beginning, but the very beginning, God
Mm-hmm.
said, let there be light and let there be darkness, and let them separate themselves with morning and evening. So he knew there was going to be light and dark. He knew there will
Mm-hmm.
be good times and bad times.
Yeah.
But he does say, praise the Lord through all.
Yeah.
And I think it's in
And
that
even and
moment.
even Job says that.
Right.
In the very beginning of his trials and tribulations, he says everything comes from God, and from the dust we come, and the dust will return. But with regardless, praise the Lord. And you also mentioned it's okay to be angry, but just don't be sin in your anger.
Right.
And we read in the book of Job that said that Job never sinned, and that's what Satan was trying to get him to do. Um, I relate to Job a lot too. I also relate to Elijah in the cave when he's suicidal. He's depressed, and like you said, it's like we learn the test first, or we go through the test first, and then we learn the lesson. Um, and you kind of saw that with Elijah. You really see it with Job, because when Job is trying to get God's attention and talk to him, and God really doesn't really give him a straightforward answer, but somehow Job got the lesson, and Job's entire demeanor and view on life changed, and
Right.
the rest of the story with him being blessed. Um, for you talked about it, um, calling yourself a Jesus freak and things like that, but also you said I think you said 3 years ago was when you really got super radical about
Yeah.
Jesus, and yeah. So what was that journey like, or what was the reason for it, and what do you do now in terms of like growing your faith?
I give.
Yeah.
I give more than I like ask for,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer in, like, I'm gonna give 7 times to receive 70.
Yeah.
But in this last season, like, I go through words of the year in the last 6 years of my life. Um,
I do
you
the
know,
same thing,
I
bro.
I,
It's
I
crazy.
I I asked God for patience, so I joke that He sent me a son,
Yeah.
and because like you will never understand patience, and then I said, God, like, teach me tenderheartedness, so He sent me a second one. um, I asked God to work on my anger, so He took away my wife and made me
Yeah.
the angriest person I could possibly be, but just so I could find not happiness, but joy.
Yeah, man.
Because joy comes before happiness, and we got it all messed up because of this world. Like, especially with these devices that we hold in our hand, we have instant gratification for everything.
Yeah.
So like pornography being like a big thing, like drug addiction, alcoholism, you can like get it sent to your house now,
Instantly.
instantaneously. So, um, yeah, these last 3 years, you know, the words have changed obviously throughout the years, but this last year specifically was intentionality.
Yeah.
So I was really focusing on being very intentional in my life.
Yeah.
When I have a relationship, I'm going to be very intentional about it. When I have a client in my chair, I'm going to be watering that seed.
Yeah.
I do feel like God made me a vessel to place my hands on people
Hmm.
and transform their lives, like physically
Yeah.
through a haircut. I know I'm going into my next season and I already know my next word, which shout out Bobby Peacock. We just had a conversation yesterday and we were very intentional recently about
Hmm.
like, I'm going to call you now, you're going to call me. And we don't
Yeah.
plan these phone calls. Like,
Yeah.
we've been very intentional as friends to be like, I'm just going to say hello. And I think, I don't know if it was you or who said it. It was someone that Bobby knew actually. But he said, like, no, it was Matt.
Yep.
Matt said, like, I wish we could just call our guy friends. I'm like, dude, good night.
Yeah.
you
Oh yeah,
know,
that trend on TikTok. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish we could just call our friends and say good night. But,
Yeah.
I called Bobby the other day and he was like, I've been focused so much on making everyone else's dreams come true that I forgot about mine.
Hmm.
So, like, I've been going through my inventory list. And I'm like, that's my new word is like inventory.
Mm.
And you could also argue that that word also means prioritize, but I
Hmm.
love the inventory because it's like even in my inventory financially, it's like what do I prioritize financially first?
Yeah.
When it comes to my friendships, it's like who's at the top of my inventory, who needs to fall out,
Yeah.
like because I need some new inventory.
Yeah.
Um, like yeah, I don't know. I could argue prioritize, but I
You.
love the word
Yeah.
inventory. It's
Yeah.
definitely like becoming my new word this
You
year.
could even stretch that to inventory, taking your inventory emotionally, taking your inventory spiritually, taking your inventory physically, like terms like your health,
We can
your
even
diet.
argue, right? And
Yeah.
I learned this in Celebrate Recovery, but how do you gauge or say I'm 30 days sober of codependency?
Yeah. I know
how do
you
you
talked about
how do
that.
you
Yeah.
gauge that, And I've realized like it's through faith, it's through commitment, it's through discipline, it's through reaching out to those friends
Yeah.
and like being patient enough to maybe feel the feelings that you're feeling
Yeah.
and handling it the right way. So being angry, but
Hmm.
not sitting
Yeah.
in those.
I'm glad you just talked about that because I I don't want to say it's the solution end all be all, but with my anger, I've been tracking my anger, and I do that.
Yeah.
Like on like I track my sobriety obviously, but it's like second nature to me. But I have been tracking my anger, and like if I lose my temper in an unrighteous way, I'll reset the app. So I'm usually good 30 to 45 days is my average. Obviously, you want it forever. Obviously, we're not perfect, but that's been like subconsciously like making me aware of like in the moment like oh man if I lose my temper I'm gonna have to reset my tracker, and it's not like to like a trophy but it's like I feel like it's helping me lean more on God, like God, what do you want me to do in this moment? You want me to shut my mouth? You want me to walk away? Do you want to respond in a more Jesus like manner or
Mm-hmm.
things like that? And I've done it with like my anger. I've done it with one of my business mentors. He's really big on the phrase positive mental attitude. And so if I'm in a season where like depression is really getting on me, or I'm feeling really anxious, or I feel like uh, in terms of like business or work or personal dreams and goals and ambitions, if I feel like my positive mental attitude in the moment is draining, I'll reset it because then I know in that moment my faith is not as high where it should be. I'm not leaning on God. I'm leaning on my own understanding of what the situation is. So I think for the codependency or really anything, like I'm not saying this is a solution for everybody, everyone, but it's like do something where you can kind of like subconsciously track it. It's like, okay, if I feel like this motion is arising, or if I act out in a certain way, or if I get triggered to the point where I'm shutting down, make note of that, right? Somehow create some type of benchmark where you can, I'm not trying to get like scientific or business like, but create some type of like benchmark where you can analyze it and track it. And then, because when you can track it or analyze it, then you can attack it, you can address it, you can bring it into prayer, you can bring it in meditation, go see a doctor or a therapist, whatever it is, talk to people about it in men's group, Celebrate Recovery Church. And so that's helped me a lot. And my friends have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, about my anger. I also do it with cursing. I try not to curse as much. This year, I really was like my year of, okay, I'm gonna stop cursing. Now, there are some slip ups here and there, but that's one of the things I really wanted to, like, um, and I'm mad some social. I play Call of Duty. Like, it'll slip out sometime. Like, crap, I gotta reset the thing. I just reset it like 3 days ago. It was me and my friend were arguing, and the word slipped. I'm like, and my friends know it. My friends know my tracker, so they make fun of me sometimes. But it's just like, um, but I'm even seeing it with my friends. They're like, hey, I want to do that. I want to do this, something like that. And so, like, for me, that's been helping me. Like I said, I've been taking inventory of myself and what habits or traits that are in me that I want to grow out of, new habits I'm going to bring into, doing the best I can.
Other than
Um,
your tracker, do you
yeah.
follow any type of like diet or discipline or like
Um,
workout
diet,
routine?
workout. Yeah, I used to be a big gym head. Not as much anymore because I was going through some health issues. I've lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscle mass, but normally gym is a big thing in my life, and also helped me really stay sober initially, like the first
Yeah.
couple months, couple years.
No, I can be vulnerable enough to tell people like I fell off this, but tomorrow I'm starting this thing again, and I want to touch on it
Mm-hmm.
because we can apply it to anything that we can
Yeah.
track. But this past year, I learned about the 5 F's. Do you know what the 5 F's are?
No.
It's faith, family, friendships, fitness, finance.
Okay. I've heard. Yeah. I've not probably not that, but I've heard something like
So
that.
it's very similar. And so everything that I do, I'd rather you do like the 75 hard challenge or you're on a diet,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to do something called the 9 for 90,
Okay.
which is 9 things I'm implementing in my life for 90 days.
Okay.
And the 9 things change per the person
Yeah.
per the 90 days. So every 90
Yeah.
days, you're going to change it. For our 9, it was like 4 hours minimum a week of arts and crafts.
Yeah.
No TV or screen time after 10 p.m. That's a really hard one.
Yeah.
No eating out. So,
Yeah.
like me and my wife this morning, we created 14 meals that we're going to just, rotate every 14
Yeah.
days to make our finances better.
Yeah.
But also, it's a discipline thing.
Yeah.
A workout daily inside and then a workout daily outside. Like, we'll just walk out as a family. um there were some other ones in there like no alcohol, no caffeine,
Mm-hmm.
but these things that we implemented for the 9 for 90 were to help the 5 F's,
Yeah.
and they actually probably help all of them.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I've done the 75 hard challenge. I saw definitely great benefits with that. I definitely noticed like me going to the gym more consistently has helped me tremendously with my health, my sleep,
See,
my
and
depression,
I'm
and
vulnerable enough to admit to you,
yeah,
I've started to see myself come down
yeah,
recently,
hmm,
because like it's been a solid 3 weeks since I've stopped doing the 9 for 90, and
yeah,
it's okay to fall off.
yeah,
And I love the fact that the forum happened when it did, because like it's okay not to be okay as long as you don't stay there.
hmm,
And I'm starting to feel myself slip that um
you notice it right away, especially when
I
you're
just can't even
tracking
I
well.
can't even process emotions the same way. And I
Yeah,
will be very vulnerable enough to tell you, and I don't know if you want to clip this or
yeah,
cut it out, but like I got off all my anxiety depression medication
hmm,
recently 3 weeks ago.
hmm,
So I know it's because of that. Like
yeah,
I have not wanted to like eat well. I'm like whatever I want
yeah,
is like I'm gonna put in my body, and I'm not working out. I'm not exercising, but then I feel even worse about myself because I'm not exercising and I feel bloated.
hmm,
And then I'm just like my finances are crap right now because like I'm just eating out all the
yeah.
time. So I've seen like I'm almost happy I learned the lesson, because like, well, if I don't stick to the routine,
You'll see what
all the
happens.
5s
Or suffering.
like are suffering, every single one of them. Like, well, maybe I stayed up really late because I was on my phone, so I didn't wake up for church on time.
Yeah,
And I could go through like the list of things that like, well, I can push out that client,
yeah.
no big deal.
Nah, you definitely. notice it, man. I remember normally at the beginning of the year, you kind of touched on it. Like I have my word for the year. So normally, beginning of the year in January, I'll fast. I do a 21-day Daniel fast, and then after the 21 days, I'll get like the most greasiest fast food I want. And I, you just feel it the next day when you
Yeah,
wake
I know.
up.
I
So,
know.
and I get in what I've noticed about taking inventory. I love that word, man.
It's stuck with me since he said it.
I've noticed that when I'm feeling like you said down, or I don't feel right like my normal self, or I'm not as happy or joyful, or I'm just not clicking all cylinders I normally am. Sometimes I would just sit by my bed and I'll sit and pray and meditate. I'm like, okay, God, what am I not doing that's making me feel like this? Is there a certain habit I'm not doing? I'm not doing this much, and a lot of times it's because I'm not reading the Bible enough, or I'm not going to church enough. Not going to church, but like I'm not watching enough sermons, or I'm not feeding myself spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer when you don't feed, when this is not aligned, all of this is gonna fall. This means finances, fitness, emotional
Yep.
health, mental health, whatever. And so I feel like if that spiritual health, and so sometimes I would just watch more church. I watch 3, 4 sermons or a podcast, or I read the Bible a little bit more, or things like that. Because sometimes when you get into ministry, or or a profession like like barbering, you feed into other people, but you forget to feed yourself, and that leads to burnout, and which can lead to like you
Man,
said, the 5 F's, all everything else falling. And so
we're hitting each other with things, and I don't want you to go too far because I gotta say it now. But you were saying like you would watch 3 or 4 sermons recently. Um, I think as you get older, like your testosterone levels go down.
yeah,
So I'm like wondering. I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm not going to the gym.
yeah,
So like that's one thing, and then like I'm just seeing like a lot of like my drive uh slip away from me. But then even sexually, like I'm just like, well, I love my wife, but like I've just
yeah,
not had that same energy that I used to have. And I'm like,
hmm,
man, this is so hard as a man because like
yeah,
you grow up the way I did. I'm like, man, I was just like,
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I've been battling with it. I'm so vulnerable because I want other men to feel like they don't have to be scared to admit these things.
yeah,
Like, not that I'm a softie by any means, but that I just haven't had like the same ego I used to have. And I
yeah,
don't know if that means God's working in me or not, or if the devil's trying to get at me
yeah,
and create these like demonic entities. Like,
yeah,
we're like, oh, well, you're just not going to be as excited anymore.
hmm,
But it's funny that like in that moment, like, well, I know I could like deviate and watch pornography. And I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, today, in the moment that I wanted to turn to that, it
hmm,
was like it's the same thing as like an alcoholic wanting to go back to the bottle or a pill
yeah,
popper wanting to open up the pills. I turned on Christian music.
wow,
Let me tell you right now, bro, it's really hard to want to masturbate when you're
no,
when you're listening
bro, you're
to the
bro,
word. It's so difficult to
mm,
like want to touch yourself when you have Jesus in your ears. And the power of music in itself, or a sermon or an audiobook, that power is like
hmm,
it's just unstoppable. It's like the devil hates it
yeah.
because
I'm
he's like,
glad you're saying that, because in the Bible, I say this all the time, to my friends, because it's, I mean, like lust is almost like second nature in today's society. It's
yeah,
just it's normalized. It's
yeah.
like normal to cheat on your wife or watch pornography or anything
Even
sexual.
as simple as lustfully looking through Instagram,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so simple to like find yourself on those
even in
things.
that. I was telling my friends this, that like on the Explore page on Instagram or the new app Threads is really bad. The default setting, like if you create a new account today, your default Explore page is gonna be all like girls in bikinis.
Right.
And I found that you have to like reprogram the algorithm, and you have to like manually click each image and click not interested. If you do it enough times, it will reprogram it. But it just takes time. A lot of men don't want to sit there. I know it's like going against like don't scroll, like don't, what's the phrase, like doom scroll, and don't do that. But if you want your Instagram or your social media tools to work for you, you have to do that initial like reprogramming, to the point where my Instagram is, and my Explore page is just like Christian related, like sermons, podcasts, motivational speaking, sports and anime, right? That's all I. But it took time to get to that point, and there's even today, like there's times where Instagram model or OnlyFans chick will pop up on, and you gotta redo it. So I'm glad you talked about that. But for me, or going back to the Bible, it says the only sin that we can't face, we have to run from is lust.
Mm.
And I think, like you mentioned it, like running to God, whether it's Christian music, a sermon, or whatever it is. And I think you can apply it to everything, whether it's lust, whether you want to punch somebody or whatever, you're angry, like run to Him. And so for me, what I've done was, uh, I'm really big on like motivational quotes and like Bible scriptures. And so I've, on like on the iPhone, I don't know if Android's probably similar, something similar, but like on the reminders, I have it where it's like every 5-10 minutes, it's another motivational quote or a Bible verse. So it's like, and usually they pop up in a moment where I'm like angry or tense
Yeah,
or like road rage from
as life would
traffic or
have it.
something. And then this one, I was at a church service, and this one woman said, if someone asked you right now how much do you, or how many times you pray a day, and you can't give an immediate definite answer, you're not praying enough. And that hit me. And so, because that's one of the areas I'm really trying to grow in my prayer life. And so what I did was, and she gave a simple solution. She was like set a on like your calendar, every 3 hours, set a reminder to pray. So like, sorry, like 9 a.m., 12, 3, 6, 9, midnight, whatever. And that's helped me tremendously.
Mm.
Because like,
Inventory.
yeah, inventory. Because now if someone asks me, it's like, okay, maybe at least twice, maybe 3 times, because you may pray once before you eat a meal, and then when you wake up, you may forget to pray, and you wake up because you're rushing to get out the door, and then you may pray when you go to sleep. But now I know at least 6, 5, 8 times a day, I know I'm praying, or
Mm.
I'm taking. And it doesn't have to be long prayers, because sometimes 6 o'clock comes around, you may have a long day at work or something like that, or maybe you're tired from cutting hair and you just want to, all right, let me just go to the bathroom real quick, 5 little
Right.
second prayer break, and all right, cool. Now I feel refreshed, right? And it can pop up in those moments in the middle of the night where you want to do
Right.
stuff like that, and that right when you're scrolling and that notification pops up to pray, or that reminder says, or it could be a Bible verse that you need, and it's like it's gonna help you deviate from what your flesh is wanting you to do. This is a great conversation, bro. Um, we have so much. We have so much in common and similarities and things like that, man. I wanted to kind of, as we kind of wrap up here, for those who are watching this and will watch it in the future, how do you really? And I know it's easier for you, but what advice would you give to people who really want to like balance and integrate, their faith, Jesus, into their business and their entrepreneurship and things like that?
Hmm.
Because a lot of people, it's gotten better today, but some people kind of are still afraid. There's still a fear of, I can't speak, about Jesus publicly in terms of work. I can't balance it. Especially, I still get it on LinkedIn. A lot of people feel like I can't post that stuff on LinkedIn, and I'm like, I don't know, ashamed of it. But how do you help people who are still battling that fear?
Mm. That's I'm gonna really like think before I speak,
Mm-hmm.
because my first instinct is say like walk before you can run.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, I've been a Christian my whole life, but let's start from, let's apply it to something different, just metaphorically for a second. I remember when I was starting at CR, I had been going to the church for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then all the divorce stuff happened, and I just like, I wanted to get plugged into everything, right? But what I've realized in the last 3 years is, if the devil can't slow you down, he'll speed you up. So
Mm-hmm.
it's we're going back to our addictive state, and everyone's addicted to something. So your natural reaction is, when you get a taste of God, you want to do everything you can. I would challenge people to slow down a little bit, maybe do a step study, but check your inventory,
Yeah.
because it's like the devil will speed you up to a point where, like, Monday through Sunday you're doing something, and then you're starting to feel overwhelmed, and then you're feeling like you can't prioritize any, like, kind of a gift of all trades, right? But not great at any one thing. I would challenge that. I remember when I asked my sponsor, and this my sponsor is a male, So you talked earlier about like, or we spoke earlier about like how my therapist is a female, but like you do need the opposite. So I made sure to prioritize the fact that my sponsor and my mentors were male figures
Yep.
because I want those figures to be able to call me out,
Mm-hmm.
um, even with harsh criticism. And I would say like most people think like their love languages, for instance, like mine's words of affirmation. I always tell people like your love languages do not always have to be good things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be very harsh criticism. So like as much as I want to be told good job, Marco,
Yeah.
I also want to be told you're screwing up.
I'm the same way.
Like I need to be told bluntly this is not okay.
Yeah.
So my sponsor, shout out Dave Hyde, he's helped so many people. I mean, he goes to the prisons and like preaches to like some of the hardest dudes out there.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was asking him, like, why is it that like when you're starting at a church, you got to go for like X amount of time before people are like really believing in you?
Yeah.
And I remember he said something to me, um, but I think it was like on the lines of like my wife coming back. He's like, well, if your wife came back into your life right now,
Mm.
would you take her back?
Mm.
After like all the divorce? Like, no, you would like, well, let's take it slow,
Mm.
right? So it's the same way with God. Like, if you've fallen away from God, don't expect everyone to be like, oh yeah, they're back in church. Like, let's
Yeah.
take him back on. No, because they might pivot, they might fall back
Yeah.
down. So like people do naturally want to see a season of you doing very well.
Yeah.
And I know it comes off harsh from Christianity. I think this is where people confuse judgment with like a challenge, but I've learned the difference now between being lonely and alone. Lonely is no one calls your phone.
Yeah.
Alone is you're going to go through this season. It's going to be the hard season of your life, but you're still going to call me to make sure I'm okay. My
Yeah.
sponsor's still going to check up on me,
Yeah.
but I'm going to work by myself. I might be going home and cooking ramen noodles by myself,
Mm-hmm.
but in that midst, like I got my family back. I'm now cooking spaghetti tonight with my family. It's
Yeah.
like, so I don't know if I really answered that question the way you expected me to. Um, but I would just challenge people to like dive into his word, try to set routines, uh, have some like daily devotionals that you try to stick to. I know it sounds I'm even deviating off the like the religious topic, like with my
Yeah.
business right here, right? I got me and two other guys now that God blessed me with, and I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And typically in business, like it starts off really slow. It's the complete opposite for us.
Yeah.
Like we're like balls to the wall, and we don't know how to handle all of like the exposure. And I'm not complaining by any means
Yeah.
with being busy, but it's so busy that I'm like, okay, I need to share the wealth. But I've been trying to just be disciplined to post something on Instagram every single day about the business.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I did as a Christian though was when I decided to start my own business, I wanted to take a stand and say I will say that it's for his glory.
Yeah.
So on my biography, I was like, I'm a grateful believer of Jesus Christ. I believe I'm here to plant seeds. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
to water you. I'm here to transform your life. I accept all from all different walks of life, no matter where you are at to where you are currently. Um, and that was a bold statement because even in the barber shops, if you look at the history, right, politics were talked about in barber shops,
Mm-hmm.
prohibition, racism.
Mm-hmm.
This is a safe place for black men to come and talk about the the city and the
Mm-hmm.
community. So I really wanted to get back on that because in school, it's funny how it's changed.
Yeah.
You're taught don't talk about religion, don't talk about sex, don't talk about race, don't talk about the hard things, don't be a therapist. Um, and I'm like deviating from that completely with what we're doing here at Trichomes.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a stand and say like, how's your mental health?
Yeah.
What's your faith like? I'm gonna mention his name even when the devil doesn't want me to. So it's in those
Yeah.
moments that I think get uncomfortable for a I don't want to say like a veteran Christian, but like I'm in a great season where I'm like, dude, I'm challenging myself to be like, hey, can I pray for you?
Yeah.
And it just happened yesterday, and it just happened the day before that, where like I can feel the moment, and it's in those moments I'm like, can I just stop and pray for you?
Yeah.
And seeing men come to their knees and be like, dude, like I so needed that.
Yeah.
Seeing the hands go up at the forum of
Yeah.
like, I didn't even know I needed this today.
Yeah.
that's those moments that I'm like, I'm seeing the Holy Spirit happen, which makes me just want to do it more. So when I talk about being a Jesus freak, guys, it's not like in between clients I'm reading the Bible.
Yeah.
No, I'm praying.
Yeah.
I'm like recognizing the fact that God's glory is like happening around me, and I don't even know what to do with my hands. I'm a Ricky Bobby Christian right now.
Yeah.
Like the car handled really well, and I prayed for him, but I didn't really know what I was saying.
Yeah.
Um, I'm in children's ministry. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. I think you kind of talked
So
about it in there.
I talk about this, and I don't know if I said it at the forum, but like if you're in the very beginning of your walk with God, or maybe you don't even have a Bible, but maybe you can just pray, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know how. And I think most people have this perceived idea that it's like, oh, 9 pound, 8 ounce Jesus, can you just? They use all the fancy words,
Yeah.
right? I always let's go back to art real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I metaphorically would say like it's like the labels that you see at the store, organic
Yeah.
this, all natural that. Like you don't have to use all those fancy words when you're
Yeah.
praying to God. I pray to God like as if I'm talking to you, my best friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's up, God?
Nah, I'm the same way.
It's me. What's up, dude? Like I talk to him like it's a normal
Yeah.
person because that seems authentic to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wear a suit and tie when I talk to God,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to do it when I'm by myself either.
Exactly.
So that would be like my challenge to people that are in the beginning of their faith or with their businesses is like, do it as if you would talk to a normal person. I'm not going to come out to a fresh new client and be like, hey man, what's your faith like? I might just be like, plant a little seed and be like, hey, what's your mental health like on a scale of
Yeah.
1 to 10?
Yeah.
And then I can gauge where to go from the conversation with that. The one thing I don't want to do is like turn people away. I want people to turn to him
Yeah.
or turn to me in a time of crisis.
Yeah. No, everything you said was spot on. And I'm just taking everything you in. The one thing that I think is really powerful is that you said you put it in your bio. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle with. And I struggled with it a couple years ago when I really
Not
started
in my
get
Instagram description,
yeah.
like all my website.
Yeah, on your
Like,
business website. It's I think make that one decision that you're going to be a steadfast believer in whatever avenue of business, career, entrepreneurship that you're going to be. Like, make that one decision. That way, you don't have to make the decision again.
mm-hmm.
Just make that one decision. Then everything is just muscle memory after that. Or you've already made a decision, so you can't go back on your word now. Just make that decision. I think it'll become easier over time to really implement Jesus with work, Jesus with their business or whatever it is. Because like sometimes people, I think, like I said, they get fearful or feel like they can't um, say it for fear of persecution or whatever. Uh,
I mean, if you're at a job where you're going to be persecuted or
mm-hmm,
fired or let go,
mm-hmm.
I would let go.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not letting go of my faith for
yeah,
nothing.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, I kind of want to touch on something, and it's important to me to start sharing this message the more I have it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting a nonprofit with my wife. Really, it's just about like being fated but forgiven, trimmed and transformed. Like
I like it.
uh, basically our testimony about how we fell apart and how she came to God and being equally yoked. But in that, there's this Barberside container. It's a disinfectant for fungi and viruses. And
Yeah,
every single day, we do multiple haircuts, 10 to 20 haircuts a day. And every hair comb that we use, we put in that Barberside.
yeah,
And for those that don't know what that Barberside does, is it's a chemical reaction, right? It pulls and strips that hair comb of all the viruses and fungi that might be on someone's head,
yeah,
right? If we would continue to use that same hair comb, now we're spreading the virus, we're spreading the demonic presence
yeah.
instead of taking it away.
Mm-hmm.
But what people do not get to see is what we do with that barber side at the end of our day. So when
Yeah,
we get done here, like I'm gonna actually dump that out and replace it with clean water, and I'm gonna clean those hair combs. But guess what? The very next day, I want to be able to reuse them. And
yeah.
I think that's a true testament to what God can do in our lives. It's like
Mm,
sometimes it's a battle and it feels
yeah,
uncomfortable, and there's trials and there's tribulations. And the barber side, the chemical reaction that's happening in your life, or the chemical imbalance that's happening in your brain on the mental side of things is uncomfortable.
yeah,
But if you just give it to him, I'm not going to deviate from sharing what God can do in your life because he will wash you clean. He will transform your life,
yeah,
more than anyone else can. and then be able to reuse you.
Yeah.
So, I wish everybody could just read the whole Bible like I have, because you think about Paul, you think about the debt collectors and the murderers and even Moses, right? Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't have been used.
Yeah, man.
So I just wanted to kind of touch on that because like it's such an unseen thing. Most people just like they think that that just like sits on our stand. um
That's a beautiful metaphor. I've
yeah,
never even thought
but the
about it like
metaphor,
that.
and I've seen other ones that are like it,
Yeah.
like wash clean, and you just the coffee thing, and you just keep pouring clean
Yeah.
water on top of it. But it is the same metaphor, but just in a barber standpoint of
Yeah.
like we can reuse that comb, and God
Yeah.
can transform it, and He can reuse you.
I like how you said it's a battle because it is. Whether
Yeah.
you're trying to become sober from whatever thing you're dealing with, or mental health issues,
Or codependency, or
codependency,
anger issues,
anger,
or maybe even just suicidal tendencies. You're feeling like you're not enough. I,
it's a
I'm
battle.
I'm here to say that you are, and I can't wait to like have that exact person come in my chair and come exactly as you are.
Yeah. And I think, for everyone out there, like, it's about, and I think that people need to acknowledge and accept and be open that it is a battle. I think people don't think it's okay for it to be a battle. No, it is going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle the rest of your life. Life is going to happen. It's gonna, it's, people get sick, people pass away, economy can get rocked, car accident, fire from a job, business burns down on fire from a lightning strike. Like, life happens,
I want
and
to
it's a
argue it,
battle.
what you said,
Yeah, with what?
with some positivity in that.
Oh yeah, go
I'm going to
ahead.
argue it, but not to like. I can tell we're both like one uppers, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
I saw another podcast recently with Jelly Roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Jelly Roll and Brandon Lake about
Yeah.
their new song, like
Yeah.
Hard Fought
I've heard about
Hallelujah.
it.
And I remember Jelly Roll was like, I'm one of those people, and he was saying like, I think the question that Brandon asked him is like, what are you most um, scared of? And he was like, losing it all.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I lost all the weight. I got my family back. I see my kids. He's like, it's not the fame, right? It's everything that the fame brought him,
Mm-hmm.
which is like security in his relationships, security within Jesus, security,
Yeah.
financially, security within a home versus maybe sleeping in the car. And I remember in that moment, like I think we all feel like that. Like when life goes up, it must come down.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm challenging you. Is
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, it will go down, but the closer you are, like here,
Yeah.
I've I've always thought like, you ever wonder like if you're good here, you're also good here, but if you're not good here, the weight of the world is here.
Mm.
And as a father, like if I'm only ankle deep, my kids will only be feet deep. If I'm knee deep, my kids will
Mm-hmm.
only be ankle deep. So I have to be fully submerged all the time. When I make mistakes, or when you
Mm.
make mistakes in your anger, I now pivot, and I immediately recognize it. So old me would go, I'm gonna hold on to this all day, and I might apologize later. Now I go, son, come here real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and I pull him and I put him on my lap, and I'm like, Daddy is so sorry that he just yelled at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that my father never did.
Mm-hmm.
It would wait. It would fester until like maybe the next morning, and then I get like a couple times I've had my dad cry, but
Yeah.
like it always get to the worst bottom of the pit.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like stop that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a pivotal person in my son's life, or in all the viewers who may or may not look at this. Um, it's okay to pivot. It's
Yeah.
okay to be like, yeah, like life is so good. It might not always be happy, but you can find joy in
Oh,
anything.
absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. It was funny when you mentioned it in there. I'm gonna talk about it, about the bald spot in my head. When I was in college, I was also going through a very rough season, and I compared the two seasons that I just was in versus that, because at that point in time I wasn't finding the joy, and I found it in alcohol, and that's what led me to spiral, lose my faith, even walked away from God. I was that angry at him for what was going on, and now with my previous season, and now just, for example, I lost my job. I got sick. I got a neurological, something was going on. The doctor didn't know, and because of that, I got fired from my job. I was unemployed for a year and a half, trying to fight that. There was a whole lawsuit that ensued because of that, and then I got into a car accident. I rolled over like 3 or 4 times, totaled my mom's car, but I walked out of it. I climbed out the car. Not a, I had one scratch on my elbow. That was that, right? And then my grandmother passed away. My dad, I told you about her met for biologically first time. She passed away. So I've only saw her once, so she passed away. And then my dad went back to jail, like all in this like year and a half span. And like, there's so many other things that happened, but I was happy because I was my own Jesus freak. I was so I love how you said it. I was so submerged in the Word and going to church and really keeping my positive mental attitude, making sure my joy was there, even though when happiness wasn't right. And I remember um, when my mom told me about when the bald spot was developing was during the season, and I had multiple. And I went to go to the doctor, and she was like, "Oh, all these are stress related." She was like, "Do you feel stressed?" I was like, "No." And she was like, "Well, have things happened?" I was like, "Yeah," but it was like it gave me a revelation of that's what like the spirit and the flesh is.
Yep.
Like my body is screaming, Malachi, you're stressed. You should be depressed right now. You should be angry or sad or whatever it is. Hey, relapse, whatever you want to do. But like my spirit is screaming, I'm joyful. There's so much I'm to be grateful for and I can be happy about and things I can be positive for. And so I'm glad you said that because it's so true that you have to find it, right? And when you look at and you read, like you said, you read the Bible, you read these stories, whether you relate it to yourself or not, or just put yourself in the author's shoes. They went through these tough times, but something kept them going, right? And it's that faith in Jesus. It's that everything is going to be all right. Everything is going to work out in my favor. And even like Daniel getting thrown into the furnace, you gotta have that. Your faith has to be that bold of you saying, even if it doesn't work out, God is still good,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I'm trying to get to the point of is like getting to that point of even if things don't work out, can I still praise God even though I can't trace Him or things don't look like what the Bible says, like all these blessings and provisions and prosperity and hope. And there's a quote or there's a story. It's called Footprints in the Sand. Footprints in the Sand. It's a poem, and it talks
Yeah. Yeah.
about, he says like during the hardest times of life, I only saw one set of footprints, and then Jesus says those one set is when I was carrying you, and you know that's what we have to have the faith is that joy that He's carrying us even in when life is life and um
Life is life, and
you gotta have that joy because I mean you can attest to it. We all can attest to it. It's so easy to revert back to that anger or you know what, let me just relapse. Let me do this. Let me do this vice or act out how any other worldly person would act out, right? So, man, this is a great conversation. I know this is a very long episode, but I love the conversation. I love your vulnerability, and like I said, we have so much in common. I was not expecting this. Like I said, this is all raw. This is not pre-planned questions, pre-planned dialogue. This is straight
dude,
off the
I
dome,
wore
and
flip flops
yeah,
by accident.
yeah,
I did
yeah.
not.
I'm
I
straight
did.
off an airplane. I'm
I did
straight.
not dress for this occasion.
Yeah, I'm straight off an
Raw.
airplane, and um,
Rick Rolls.
I
Sorry.
would say, as we get to the end here, what are some Bible verses or stories that related to you the most or really helped you through your trials and tribulations past and present that you can really help encourage someone else who's maybe fighting similar battles or other battles in their life.
I already touched on a whole bunch, but as you were talking, I'll just end with one, which is when Jesus knew he was going to be crucified
Mm-hmm.
and he was begging God, like, is there anything else I can do? And then very quickly was like, God, if it's in your will, like, let it be done. Like, he very quickly pivoted. So
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, like, face the storm.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the only thing I can say right now. I've touched on so many Bible verses, but until you like face your problem, until you're ready, there's nothing. There's not a cent or a dollar would fix anything. There's no person that would come in and love you more than if you just say, God, if it's in your will, like let it be done.
Yeah.
Like forgive them for they do not know.
Yeah.
Like, um, yeah, I mean, like we don't realize how much of our journey is already pre-planned.
Yeah.
So I just want to like end on that one. It's just like
Yeah.
sometimes we just like why me, why me, why me. Like I now look at it differently.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because right after that, God sends in some angels to comfort him.
Yeah.
And even in the story I talked about earlier with the story of Elijah in the cave, the same direction that Elijah was running from, God sends him back in the same direction. And he tells him, hey, there's people out here that need you. There's a servant out here I'm gonna give you. All everything that he needed is in the same direction that he was running from. So
Mm-hmm.
it just goes to, we have to face the storm, and it's kind of a bad analogy, but I talk about like story of Job, or even like the Garden of Gethsemane, um, or even Jesus going into the wilderness to be tempted. It's like God already knew they were gonna pass the trials, right? And like when God and Satan are in heaven, the heavenly realm, talking about Job, like I look at it as if like they're like it's a bet, and
Yeah.
Satan is like, I bet you that he'll turn against you, and God's like,
That's some parlay, man.
yeah, like that's how I look
That's
at
some
it.
parlay.
And then when Job, or Satan does this first trial, his first pass, he comes back and God's like, double it up, double or nothing,
Double or
right?
nothing.
Because he already knew, right, like he was gonna pass the test. So it's like God already knows we have everything we need, but he already knows that we have enough in us to pass the storm that we're gonna go through. And I think we have to believe in ourselves as much as God believes in us. And I think that's a battle in itself right there.
Yeah.
What last question, or last two. Looking back, if you can talk to your younger self, in any season, whether middle school, high school, college, whatever season of different addictions you're going through, like what would be like one thing you would tell him?
Um, you are highly valuable.
Mm,
You have a purpose. Um, and I mean, I mean, it sounds like I don't know. It sounds like I almost like want to say like it sounds egotistical, but it's like God had such a bigger plan. Like He's gonna use you,
yeah,
in like in such a bigger way.
yeah.
Like I was being used to like I didn't go into like even depth. Like dude, I threw big mansion parties.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got thousands of people together, like constantly, and became this party host and like start I ran a business out of it, like through
Yeah,
music festivals. And like I wish at that moment God had like pulled me and been like, I'm gonna use you for so much more.
yeah.
I remember like it was like crippling me. Like I didn't get drunk at these parties. It was all about making the money and like,
Mm-hmm.
but I was the guy.
Yeah,
And I wish I had pivoted at that moment.
yeah,
I wish he could just like if anyone had told me like, dude, he's gonna use you for so much more.
yeah,
Like we see this life flight event going on. Like I could have done that,
yeah,
but I chose to live it my way and get people drunk for a living
yeah,
and create this safe place where they could do drugs and have sex before marriage. And now it's like, yeah,
yeah.
that's how I'd answer it. It's just like I had such a bigger purpose.
Yeah, man. I think that's powerful because sometimes a lot of people, especially when they're
It's kind
young,
of I don't know. It sounds cliche.
it's cliche, but it's powerful because I think a lot of, especially when you're young, high school, college, right out of college, and especially if you've gone through a lot of things or you've made a lot of mistakes, you feel like your life is over, or you feel like life isn't going to amount to much.
Right.
And I think sometimes somebody, whether God's speaking to us or a friend or even a stranger, like God's going to use you. There's so much more.
I think recently, like going to church for a while now, taking the faith really, really seriously and just serving Him in every way I can.
Hmm.
I think everybody wants to be on stage and be the guy.
Yeah,
You can be the guy once you realize that being the greeter at the door is just as important and valuable as the guy on stage,
yeah, because
if not more valuable. I would even argue,
yeah,
if not more valuable, because
hmm,
like the pastor might not ever get to see that person that walks in for the first time. You'll get to see him twice.
yeah. I've heard some people say this, like podcasters and pastors. Sometimes we're the only quote unquote Jesus that they'll ever meet. We're the only Bible that
Right.
they'll ever meet.
So when you talked earlier about like the not cursing thing, that kind of hit me to my core. I'm like, oh man, maybe that needs to be one of my next line.
It's like
Because like I don't
even
want I don't want like an unbeliever to see me and go, oh, that's how Christians sound.
yeah, it hit. Oh man, I'm glad you just said that, man. I remember. Shout out to Isaac if you watch this. It was I had argued. Me and my friend, we were talking about sports or something, and sometimes I can get really hot headed. Sometimes, and I
No.
had lost my temper, and especially when it comes to sport debates, and I had lost my temper, and it was like months later. And I had asked him. I started like really producing like Christian content, like Instagram or posting Bible studies and things like that, and I remember I had invited him. He said he woke up. He didn't reply at first. I mean, he hit me up like 2 days later. He was like, "The Holy Spirit woke me up today and really told me to tell you this." He was like, "Remember that one time you said so and such and such to so and so?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Ever since that, I haven't looked at you the same." He was like, "Honestly, every time you post Christian content or repost or said this or you're doing this event, I'm really not interested." And that hit me deep.
Yeah.
That really hit me deep. And it really shook me to the core of okay, I need to really get my act together. Not saying I gotta be perfect. It was like I gotta be like you said, I like the way you said intentional. I need to be really intentional
Walk
with how
before you
I
can
treat
run.
people. Yeah.
Because imagine if you just got on stage right now, like where some people are at.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, they want to share their story, but that's why people even at CR like they're told to wait to share their testimony,
Yeah.
so they can go through the 12 steps, so that way they can make amends with some certain people, make amends with themselves, find love within
Yeah.
themselves before they can start pouring out into others and
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah, man.
So
How would you, as we close here, how would you, if you could describe God in one word, and describe Jesus in terms of what he means to you, how would you describe him?
first word that comes like right to the tip of my tongue is graceful.
Talk about it.
Yeah, it's so graceful. I'm not I'm not good at it. I'm very impatient. I'm not tenderhearted by nature. My wife and me have talked about this recently about how like when she's like in a struggling season or maybe hormonal or whatever,
Yeah.
like she wants to be held, and like dude, I'm just like that does not come natural to me.
Yeah.
I was raised differently by a man that was like, get up and wipe it off your
Yeah.
knees, like she broke some glass the other day,
Yeah.
and I was like, what's the big deal? I was
Yeah.
like, it's glass, it breaks.
Yeah.
And I think God has been teaching me to like just show grace to myself
Yeah.
first before I can show it to others.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so graceful, man. Like I don't
Yeah.
even deserve what I have,
Yeah.
and watching it happen around me, and the two men that have came into my life for trichomes, and watching their desire uh, to pour out into people the way that I'm mentoring it,
Mm-hmm.
but not by saying it, but by doing it.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean it in the ways of like someone's running late. Old Marco would have been like, cool, I'm going to charge you anyways. We'll have to reschedule. Now I'm like, get here as soon as you can. I'll
Yeah.
do what I can in the time that we have allotted. Everyone deserves grace.
Amen, man.
I mean, it's really like setting the boundaries, but my delivery has changed because of the way that God has, you know, put into me. Um,
Yeah. And I think men in general just need to learn it, you know, especially with when you get into marriage or dating or have kids,
right.
just that grace. Because sometimes we get a little hard, especially if you grew up in sports, and think
So you
it's
don't
just
have
like,
kids, so you don't understand like how
yeah,
much grace they have. But if you talk to a 6-year-old and he does something stupid and you scream at him in 30 minutes, he loves you again.
exactly.
So I wish I had a little bit of like, and God does talk about this how we're children of God,
Mm-hmm.
and when we go to heaven, we're going to go as children.
Yeah.
I wish I had a little bit more child in me.
Yeah.
I
I
wish I
agree.
could have just stayed there because it was just like you had nothing to worry about. You didn't know who you didn't know what politics were.
Yeah.
You didn't know who the president was. Like my kids have no idea who Donald Trump is. They have
Yeah.
no idea who Biden is. They have no idea what black versus white is. They don't see
Yeah.
color. They don't see anything like that. They only
Yeah.
see it as like, is this person nice? Are they safe?
Yeah.
And do they, protect me?
Yeah.
Like that's all they care about is like fun, happiness,
Yeah.
joy. Like
And I think that's why Jesus talks about that. Come as little children to me.
yeah.
As we close out, man, if you can give one message to the world, for the people watching this, and who will watch it, you just give like one message. What would that be?
You tried it your way, so come do it the Trichomes way.
I
Yeah, you've tried it their way, so come do it the Trichomes way.
like that, man.
Like who's your barber? Get close to him. Tip your barber.
Yeah, yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And even, you try to your way. If you haven't tried Jesus yet and you're struggling with anything,
I'm gonna talk about them. So
yeah, try the Jesus way. And
it's easy to be a Christian in the four walls. By the way, it's really hard to be a Christian outside of those four walls. So that's when the tests usually come.
absolutely
Yep.
agree, man. Well, shout out to you, Marco.
Shout out to you, bro.
Thank you for this beautiful conversation. And you want to share with the audience your social media or business social media handles or anything?
TriCombsBarbershop.com. Instagram is TriCombs Barbershop. Everything is just TriCombs Barbershop. It's TRICOMBS Barbershop.
Yeah, he just caught me today. Like I said, he made time for me. I literally just landed here from San Diego. He made time for me right before this podcast. So he's the real deal. Definitely shout out to him and his barbershop, and definitely wish God continues to bless you and your family and your business. And this is the Messenger Podcast. The Messenger Podcast on all platforms. My name is Malachi Burden, Malachi Burden _ on all social media handles as well. And until next time, everybody.